Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly looked in the mirror and saw yourself? Not just the face, not just the outward appearance, but the person standing there with their dreams, fears, struggles, and strengths. We often go through life so focused on achieving, on taking care of others, or on meeting expectations that we forget to meet the one person who will be with us from the beginning to the end of this journey ourselves. Self-love isn't just some fancy concept, some hashtag you throw around. It's a foundation. It's recognizing that you yourself are worthy of care, compassion, and respect. This isn't about arrogance. It's about respect. Respect for yourself. We respect the things we value, don't we? We respect the people we look up to, the things we cherish. So why do we often fail to give ourselves that same kind of respect? Why do we talk to ourselves in ways we'd never talk to someone we love? When you love yourself, you recognize your own worth. You stop looking outside for validation for someone else to tell you that you're enough, because deep down you know you are. And once you have that kind of love for yourself, you become unstoppable. People's opinions, their criticism, their expectations, those things become smaller because you're rooted in something deeper, something unshakable. You become a force driven by the knowledge that you're worthy of your own love. Self-love also means forgiving yourself. We are all human and we all make mistakes. But those mistakes don't define us unless we let them. Stop carrying the burden of your past as if it's all you'll ever be. Self-love means learning from the past but not living in it. When we forgive ourselves, we free ourselves to grow, to reach higher, and to live more fully. We have the chance to start fresh every single day, and that's a gift we need to honor. And remember, self-love doesn't mean that we're perfect. It doesn't mean that we never have moments of doubt or that we don't face struggles. It means we're willing to accept ourselves with all our flaws and all our strengths. Loving yourself is about showing up every day as you are, doing the best you can, and knowing that that is enough. It's about setting boundaries, taking time for yourself, and prioritizing your well-being, even if it's not always easy. There will be people who don't understand this. There will be those who think you're selfish for putting yourself first. But self-love is not selfishness. It's the foundation for everything else in your life. When you're whole, when you're grounded in love and respect for yourself, you're able to give so much more to others. You're able to show up for them from a place of abundance rather than emptiness. You're able to lift others up because you know what it feels like to be grounded, to be steady. So I challenge you, take a moment every day to look in that mirror and honor the person looking back. Appreciate the journey you've been on, the battles you fought, the growth you've achieved. Choose to love yourself, not because of anything you've accomplished or because someone else approves of you, but because you are worthy of that love right here, right now. And when you embrace that, there's nothing you can't overcome. Self-love is the foundation of self-respect and inner strength. When we take the time to nurture and appreciate ourselves, we build a stable base upon which all other areas of our lives are built. Self-love is about recognizing our inherent worth and acknowledging that we deserve respect and kindness, not only from others, but also from ourselves. This foundational love is not based on achievement, status, or external validation, but on an intrinsic sense of value. When we understand that we are worthy of love and respect simply because we exist, we become resilient against external criticism and judgments that don't align with our inner truth. Building self-respect starts with the understanding that we have the right to prioritize ourselves, to set boundaries, and to make choices that align with our own needs and values. Self-love means that we are willing to care for ourselves with the same compassion we would offer to a loved one. It's about acknowledging our own needs and desires without guilt or hesitation. Self-respect follows naturally when we treat ourselves with kindness and dignity, reinforcing the belief that we are deserving of the same compassion we give others. This self-respect serves as a buffer against the negativity and challenges we may face from external sources. When we respect ourselves, we are less likely to tolerate disrespect or mistreatment from others, reinforcing a cycle of positivity and self-affirmation. Inner strength is cultivated through this foundation of self-love and self-respect. When we have a strong sense of our worth, we are better equipped to handle life's ups and downs. We become more resilient, able to face challenges with the confidence that we have the inner resources to overcome them. This strength is not about suppressing our vulnerabilities or pretending to be invincible, but about accepting ourselves fully, flaws and all, and knowing that we have the capacity to grow and improve. When we love and respect ourselves, we are able to acknowledge our limitations without feeling diminished by them. Instead, we see them as areas for growth, opportunities to learn and evolve. A strong foundation of self-love also allows us to be more authentic and true to ourselves. We no longer feel the need to conform to others' expectations or seek validation from external sources. We become comfortable in our own skin, embracing our uniqueness and valuing our individuality. This authenticity attracts people who respect and appreciate us for who we truly are, and it creates a supportive environment that fosters even greater self-respect and inner strength. When we love ourselves, we give ourselves permission to be who we are, unapologetically and fully. Ultimately, self-love is a journey, not a destination. It requires consistent effort and practice, especially in a world that often promotes comparison, criticism, and unrealistic standards. But by making self-love a priority, we lay the groundwork for a life that is grounded in respect, resilience, and authenticity. This foundation of self-love and self-respect gives us the inner strength to pursue our dreams, face our fears, and build meaningful connections with others. True self-love means forgiving yourself and letting go of past mistakes. When we think about self-love, we often picture self-care routines, confidence, and positive affirmations, but at the core of self-love lies forgiveness. We all make mistakes, experience failures, or go through moments we wish we could change. These moments can leave lingering regret and self-criticism, forming a weight we carry in our hearts. Without forgiveness, these burdens hold us back, preventing us from growing, evolving, and seeing ourselves as worthy of love. True self-love begins when we choose to let go of past mistakes and embrace the understanding that we're human, imperfect, and constantly learning. Forgiving yourself is not about excusing harmful actions or ignoring their consequences. It's about acknowledging what happened, taking responsibility for your role, and accepting that you are allowed to move forward without carrying the weight of guilt indefinitely. Holding on to guilt or shame can consume our thoughts, affecting our self-esteem, relationships, and outlook on life. True self-love requires that we look honestly at our mistakes, learn from them, and then release them. This act of forgiveness frees up mental and emotional space, allowing us to invest our energy into things that bring us growth, joy, and fulfillment. Self-forgiveness teaches us that our worth is not defined by our worst moments, rather it's defined by our willingness to learn, grow, and try again. Letting go of the past also means embracing the present. When we're stuck in regret, we're constantly replaying past events in our minds, hoping to change something that cannot be altered. Self-love encourages us to shift our focus to the present, where we have the power to make better choices, take positive action, and build the future we desire. When we choose to release the past, we make room for new experiences, relationships, and goals that are aligned with who we are now, not who we were then. This shift in perspective empowers us to move forward with hope and optimism, leaving behind the self-doubt that once held us back. Self-forgiveness also strengthens resilience. When we accept that we will make mistakes, it frees us from the fear of failure. We become more willing to take risks, to step out of our comfort zones, and to embrace challenges, knowing that mistakes are simply part of the journey. This resilience allows us to bounce back from setbacks with greater strength, compassion, and understanding. We no longer view failure as a reflection of our worth, but as an opportunity for growth. When we love ourselves enough to forgive, we become more adaptable, more courageous, and more grounded. By letting go of past mistakes, we also open ourselves to deeper connections with others. Holding on to guilt or self-criticism can create barriers in relationships, as we may fear judgment or rejection. But when we forgive ourselves, we become more open, more trusting, and more able to form meaningful bonds. We recognize that just as we deserve compassion, so do others. This understanding enhances our empathy, allowing us to support others in their own journeys without judgment or criticism. Self-love through forgiveness fosters a sense of connection not only with ourselves, but also with those around us. Loving yourself is about accepting your flaws and embracing your strengths. It's about looking at yourself with honesty, seeing both the parts that shine and the parts that might be rough around the edges and valuing them all. We live in a world that often demands perfection, that points out every flaw, and that tries to shape us into someone else's ideal. True self-love, however, is a rejection of that impossible standard. It's an affirmation that you are enough just as you are, even with imperfections. When you accept yourself, flaws and all, you give yourself permission to live authentically, free from the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations. Accepting your flaws does not mean you stop striving for growth. It means you see your areas for improvement without judging yourself harshly or feeling inferior. We all have weaknesses, things we may struggle with, but self-love allows us to view these as part of being human. When we accept these parts of ourselves, we can work on them from a place of compassion rather than self-criticism. This approach not only makes personal growth more sustainable, but also more fulfilling. Instead of feeling weighed down by negative self-talk, we're motivated by a genuine desire to improve, knowing that our worth isn't tied to perfection. Embracing your strengths is equally important, yet often overlooked. So many of us hesitate to celebrate our abilities, talents, or achievements because we fear being seen as arrogant. But self-love encourages us to recognize and take pride in what makes us unique. Our strengths are gifts that we bring to the world, and embracing them allows us to use them fully. When we acknowledge our strengths, we build confidence and develop a positive self-image. We stop focusing solely on what we lack and start appreciating what we have to offer. Embracing your strengths doesn't mean ignoring your flaws, it means balancing them with a healthy recognition of your potential and your capabilities. Self-love through acceptance and embrace also creates a solid foundation for resilience. When we face challenges, it's often our weaknesses that get highlighted, tempting us to fall into self-doubt or negativity. But when we've accepted our flaws, we don't fear them. We can face challenges with an understanding that while we may have limitations, we also have strengths to draw upon. This balance of acceptance and embrace allows us to navigate difficult situations with confidence and composure, knowing that we are complete as we are. Embracing both our flaws and our strengths gives us a realistic and compassionate view of ourselves, empowering us to move through life's ups and downs without losing sight of our worth. Loving ourselves in this way also improves our relationships with others. When we accept ourselves, we're less likely to seek validation from others, less likely to judge or compare, and less likely to feel threatened by someone else's strengths. Instead, we can genuinely appreciate others for who they are because we've learned to appreciate ourselves. Self-acceptance fosters empathy and understanding, qualities that deepen our connections with the people in our lives. Rather than striving for a false image of perfection, we present ourselves authentically, encouraging others to do the same and creating bonds that are based on mutual respect and honesty. Self-love requires setting boundaries and prioritizing your well-being. It's easy to get caught up in the demands of others, especially when we feel obligated to please or to meet expectations. But part of loving ourselves means knowing when to say no, and recognizing that our time, energy, and peace are valuable resources. When we neglect boundaries, we often end up feeling overwhelmed, resentful, and drained. Boundaries are not walls that push others away, they are lines that define where we end and others begin. They're a form of respect both for ourselves and for those around us, making it clear that we value our well-being and are committed to protecting it. Prioritizing well-being doesn't mean neglecting responsibilities or turning a blind eye to the needs of others. It means understanding that our ability to help others starts with taking care of ourselves. Just as we can't pour from an empty cup, we can't fully support, encourage, or nurture others if we're running on empty. Self-love reminds us that we deserve the same care we often give so freely to others. By prioritizing our mental, emotional, and physical health, we create a stronger foundation for everything else in our lives, whether it's work, relationships, or personal growth. Taking care of ourselves enhances our ability to show up fully and effectively. Setting boundaries also fosters a greater sense of control over our lives. It's easy to lose ourselves in the needs and demands of others, often putting our own goals, passions, and even our health on the back burner. Boundaries serve as a reminder of our own priorities and goals, giving us the space and time to pursue what truly matters to us. Boundaries don't mean shutting others out, they mean creating room to focus on the things that align with our values and vision. Through boundaries, we set the tone for how we want to live and what we're willing to accept. This is a vital part of self-love as it encourages us to honor our own path and respect our personal journey. Part of setting boundaries involves making choices that support our well-being. Sometimes this might mean stepping back from relationships that drain us, activities that don't serve us, or situations that compromise our peace. Self-love means we trust ourselves to make decisions that keep us centered, balanced, and aligned with our purpose. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's a commitment to preserving our energy so that we can continue to grow, thrive, and contribute meaningfully to the world around us. By making these choices, we reinforce our own worth, affirming that our time and energy are valuable. Prioritizing well-being also means recognizing and embracing rest. We live in a culture that often praises productivity and busyness, making it easy to feel guilty when we take time for ourselves. But self-love requires us to let go of the guilt associated with rest and understand that downtime is essential for recovery, creativity, and clarity. Taking time for rest and self-care isn't a sign of laziness, it's a reflection of self-respect. When we listen to our bodies, our minds, and our hearts, we are better able to meet life's challenges with renewed energy and a clear perspective. Self-love through boundary setting and prioritizing well-being is an ongoing practice. It requires consistent reflection, a willingness to reassess, and a dedication to respecting ourselves even when it's difficult. Over time, as we strengthen these habits, we develop a deeper trust in ourselves and a greater sense of peace. This commitment to our well-being is one of the most profound ways we can practice self-love, empowering us to lead lives that are balanced, meaningful, and true to who we are. Self-love empowers you to show up fully and give more to others. When we truly love and accept ourselves, we operate from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. We no longer look to others to fill gaps within us or expect them to validate our worth. Instead, we come to relationships, work, and everyday interactions with a sense of fullness. This internal security and wholeness make it possible for us to engage authentically with others. When we're not constantly searching for affirmation, we're free to focus on those around us, to listen deeply, and to offer support without an underlying need for something in return. Self-love fuels our ability to be generous, patient, and understanding because we aren't running on empty. This kind of love also reduces feelings of jealousy or insecurity that can sometimes arise in relationships or competitive environments. When we're grounded in self-love, we're not threatened by others' successes or strengths. We see them as separate from our own worth, which remains intact regardless of others' achievements. In fact, self-love enables us to celebrate others' victories, appreciating them without feeling diminished. This perspective shift builds deeper connections, creating a supportive atmosphere where everyone's growth is valued. Self-love allows us to share in others' joys genuinely, rather than comparing ourselves to them or questioning our own worth. The people around us sense this acceptance, feeling seen and valued, which fosters mutual respect and trust. Self-love also gives us the confidence to establish healthy boundaries, a skill that allows us to give more authentically. When we take care of ourselves, we don't reach the point of exhaustion, resentment, or burnout. Instead, we recognize when we need to recharge and when we have the capacity to be there for others. Knowing when to step back and take care of ourselves prevents us from giving out of obligation or guilt. Rather, it encourages giving from a place of genuine desire and capacity. This way, our help, support, or love becomes more meaningful and impactful, creating relationships based on respect and mutual understanding. Living with self-love encourages growth because we're more open to constructive feedback, learning, and self-improvement. When we love ourselves, we accept that we have areas where we can improve without feeling threatened by criticism. This self-awareness drives personal development and strengthens our ability to show up as our best selves for others. We become open to learning, viewing feedback as an opportunity rather than a threat, which helps us grow in every area of life. This willingness to evolve also serves as a powerful example to those around us, showing them the value of embracing change and development without losing self-worth. Self-love cultivates resilience, which is essential when we're in relationships or communities where we need to show up, even through challenges. This resilience keeps us steady during difficult times, enabling us to offer strength and comfort to others while remaining rooted in our own stability. Self-love allows us to experience setbacks or disappointments without losing faith in ourselves or becoming discouraged. Instead, we bounce back stronger, with a deeper understanding of ourselves and a greater capacity to support others going through similar challenges. This resilience enhances our ability to empathize and relate to others because we understand that struggle is a shared human experience. Ultimately, self-love becomes a source of empowerment, grounding us in who we are and freeing us to give our best. It fuels our interactions, strengthening our relationships, and amplifying our ability to make a positive impact. The love we have for ourselves radiates outward, creating a ripple effect that encourages and uplifts those around us. Self-love isn't selfish, it's a foundational act that amplifies our capacity for kindness, patience, and generosity. As we continue to nurture this love within ourselves, we inspire others to do the same, fostering a community where everyone is valued and supported.